But I would like to start by telling you what EconPol actually is. Many of you know it, but I guess not everyone. So let me say a few words about what it is and what we've done so far. So the idea is that EconPol Europe will be what we call a new voice for economic research in Europe. So EconPol Europe is a research network. It is a network of 6 research institutes in 3 universities from 7 European countries. What do we do? The network carries out research projects and disseminates this research and encourages debate. This research obviously has a focus on the European Union and the Eurozone. This project was initiated and financed and is financed by the German Federal Ministry of Finance. So there was a tender, and in March 2017, so just half a year ago, EFO was commissioned to set up the network. And I will show you the network partners in a minute, but I'd like to say right away we are open for cooperation with other research institutions, in addition to those that are present in the network. So here you see the founding members of the network. As I said, 9 institutions from 7 countries. I have to be careful here not to get the numbers wrong. We have, next to the EFO Institute, we have CEPS here from Brussels, CEPS from France, IHS from Austria, the university, the Toulouse School of Economics, Zaid Business School from the UK. Yes, they are on board in this network, Trento from Italy, VAT from Finland, and ZEW from Germany. There will be an office, or is an office, in Brussels. But as you see, basically it's a network of European research institutions. So what are the objectives? The kind of prime objective is to intensify border-crossing cooperation in academic research on economic and fiscal policy issues, encourage cooperation across these countries, but with a focus, obviously, of meeting in Brussels and engaging with policymakers. So I guess one very important aspect of this network, also in my personal understanding, is to build a bridge, really, between the national debates, the national economic policy debates, and the Brussels debate, because this is something I believe which is really missing. I mean, there's a lot of good work being done here in Brussels by research institutions, but what we don't have so far is an institution trying to bridge the national debates and the European debate. I'm often struck, I have to say, when I come from Berlin to Brussels and see the difference in the way things are discussed, and then when I go to Rome and meet my Italian friends there, again, they look at me and say, yet different things. So there are considerable differences in the national debates, and the idea is, to bring this together here in this project and make progress on these different issues. As I said, the focus is on the development of European Economic and Monetary Union. Another focus we would like to emphasize is a focus on structural long-term issues, sustainability of public finance, structural policies. We are interested in best practices of countries, so what can one country learn from another, things like that. I will come back to that. So what do we actually do? What are the activities of the network? As I said, we have a number of joint research projects. Some of these projects will be presented here at the conference, being work in progress. We have different types of publications, policy reports. The idea here is, it's 25 pages, kind of summarizing the research out there and trying to come up with, policy implications based on this research. We have discussion papers. These are academic papers. I will show you examples in a minute. Academic papers with relevance to these European questions we're interested in here. Then we have policy briefs. These are like 3 to 5 page papers, shorter papers, and opinion pieces written by individual members of the network, their opinion on whatever current issue that might be. Then, so we have these publications, we have conferences and workshops like this one. We will organize lunch meetings. Of course, we will do media work in Brussels and EU-wide. And in all of these activities, the idea is not to produce more purely academic research, things you can publish in academic journals, but really to bring together researchers, policymakers, business representatives, NGOs, journalists, and so on, and to foster the debate about European economic and fiscal policy issues. Always, trying to bring in the economic research, but we are not, in all our conferences and workshops, we are not trying to replicate purely academic work. It's not the idea. The idea is to have some kind of policy debate. Really, I guess as you're all aware, a lot of academic work is very compartmentalized. So a lot of academic papers focus on very special issues. And I think one of the big challenges we are facing is, how do we bring these very diverse insights and papers and models, how do we bring them together to get an overall picture? This is one thing. And the other thing, in my view, is we have a lot of empirical work. But I think we have a lack of debate about, what is reliable empirical work, what is credible empirical work, and what is less credible empirical work. You can come up to nowadays. You can come up with an empirical study about proving more or less anything. But all depends. The credibility of a study really depends on the methods used. So bring more of that into the debate. I personally think we would even need more replication studies, because there's a lot of work out there which is would maybe generate different results just because data has been revised and so on. So that kind of thing is what we would like to see here. So in the network we have defined 4 research areas: sustainable growth and best practice. So as I said, the idea to look at successful countries in the EU or outside the EU and ask, what do they do things from which other countries can learn. Reform of EU policies, the EU budget, capital markets, the regulation of the financial sector, and then governance and macroeconomic policy in European Monetary Union. So these are sort of 4 broad research areas, and we have defined projects within these areas. What you see here is our website, which has been up for some time. Maybe you've seen it. So what you find here, if you're interested, is you can find all our events, our activities, and you can download the publications here on this network. EconPol Europe is on Twitter, so you can receive Twitter messages from the network. A few examples of publications that have come out this year. This is our first EconPol working paper. So this is the sort of academic paper series. And our first paper, this is very nice, is by Jean Tirole and Emmanuel Fari. So the title, I like that one in particular because it sounds exciting. Deadly Embrace. It sounds more like a thriller or something. In fact, it's about European Monetary Union and banking and so on. But I think it's very relevant and interesting paper. Here is an example for a policy report. So the first policy report we produced in this network, and we, as you see here, we brought together authors from almost all network partners from France, Germany, Italy, and we wrote a paper about the future of Eurozone fiscal governance. And what we do in this paper is, raise the policy questions and discuss different views and bring in the different views. Also, interestingly, as you all know, it's not irrelevant. The nationality of the authors is not irrelevant for their views. Normally you would say in academia there should be a zero correlation between views about policy issues and and the passport of the people talking there. But it's not the EU is not like that, not even academia in the EU, and that's why it's so useful to have this very diverse group of people coming together and trying to agree on something. I was very happy when we started. I thought, we'll never get there, but we got there. We wrote something together, and I think that is an achievement. Here is an example of a policy brief. These kind of shorter papers, in this case by Roberto Tamburini from Trento. This is about macroeconomic imbalances and their importance for European monetary union. And then we have these opinions, individual authors write what they think about whatever issue. Here is a comment by Daniel Gros on, criticizing the European Commission for its views about the euro area or its analysis. I've written a piece on tax competition and the UK. Oh, there's a recent paper on Catalonia. These are just examples of the issues we deal with, and we, of course, we try to be, as far as we can, up to date and, deal with the contemporary issues. So, what is our plan? Where are we going? Here are some events and things that are upcoming. So there will be a doctoral workshop. Part of the activities will be that we try to bring together young researchers, PhD students, with not just senior academics, but also with policymakers, to confront them early with, policy-relevant work. So there will be a policy workshop in cooperation, in that case, with CEPS, and there's more work forthcoming. One study on asymmetric shocks in the Eurozone, which we'll present tomorrow. Then there is, in the pipeline, we have one piece on the economic and fiscal cost of Brexit. We will organize what we call fireside chats, for instance, with members of the European Parliament or with other people, so different formats we have here to interact with policymakers, lunch debates, and similar things. So that's, this is EconPol. As I said, I'm really excited that we have been able to bring together this group of institutions from different countries. Where is this going? This is an open process, so we, jointly decide about our research plan, and the entire, this network is open. So we are talking to other institutions from Europe. You've seen that, there are important countries in the EU, and I guess each country is important that are not represented in the network. So we are open to extending the network and bringing in institutions. So the idea is that this will be a network of academic institutions. So we are looking for partners from academia, but partners who are interested in policy work, in bringing their work into the policy debate. So let me say a few words about today's conference. This is the founding conference of the network, and we decided to focus in this conference to focus on the Eurozone. So overall, we have 250 participants over 2 days. So they're not all here yet, but they're hopefully coming from all areas. Academia, policymakers, civil society. A lot of media is present. As you know, in just a few minutes, we'll have a panel discussion on the future of EMU, chaired by Daniel Gros, and then a keynote address by François Villeroy, the governance of the Bank of France. And tomorrow, I'd also like to draw your attention to tomorrow's program, which is interesting, I think. We have a number of sessions. In part of these sessions, we will present ongoing research projects from the network on immigration policy, on the EU budget, economic convergence, macroeconomic imbalances, on corporate tax. There's a lot of work on corporate tax in the network. I've seen yesterday that the Commission is getting interested in Paradise Papers. It's nothing new. This is about tax avoidance and what we can do about it. So we will do work in the network on these things as well. So I'm looking forward very much to the next 2 days. And I would now like to invite Daniel to start our first panel. So welcome again, and thank you very much.